welcome back to another movie of the week. And the movie this week was Back to the Future 2 from 1989. So you haven't watched it now. In 2024, what we're doing here, we're doing franchises, reboots, and things of the elements. So we're going to do the first two Back to the Future movies, not the third. So I already did a video and talked about the first movie. So if you haven't watched it now. And then watch Back to the Future 2 and watch this video. So I think it's interesting, first off, that it's like 4 years later, and it's something where like the first movie pretty much leaves off where they like knew there was gonna be a second movie, but I feel like they didn't know there was gonna be a second movie, like, because, and I'll get into it. So I originally thought, I don't know, I was thinking maybe because, you know, it's the 80s, and you know, what they were able to do with CGI and editing isn't, you know, where we are now. And I'm wondering, you know, if they could do this movie now, like how many more things they would be able to do with like the special effects. But so I thought maybe it took a long time because they had to do all these things in special effects and editing. But I think they just like didn't know they were going to do a second movie, and it was something where they ended the first movie with like potential second movie to try to get a second movie, but I don't think they knew at the time there was going to be a second movie. Clearly this one ends the second movie knowing it was the next movie because it looks like it's already been filmed. And I don't even want to like think about the third movie anyway. But the first thing I noticed is that the girlfriend is different, and that's something I forgot. It's like it's a different girlfriend, like they have a different actress to play her. And so like those scenes that were like they used they had at the end of the first movie that was kind of beginning of this movie, they had to like reshoot, and it's something where they probably like wouldn't have done that if it was the same actress. So I'm like, why was it a different actress? Like, I feel like maybe she didn't want to come back. But it's also like, why wouldn't you want to come back? Like, Back to the Future is so good, but like, that's the thing. It's like, if they were just like, I didn't like the vibe of her, like, we need a recast or something, like, it was like, that's just dumb. Like, why? It's because we all notice it. Like, it's just noticeable that it's a different actress. Maybe the actress was mad about like the direction they were going with the character, so that's why she didn't want to be in it. Like, I know I should be doing my research before I do these videos, but I don't. Anyway, so what's crazy about this movie is, so they go to the future, 2015, 30 years later. No, it's 1989. It's supposed to be 1985. And that's another thing, is like he just got back and then he goes to the future and then he goes to the past again, which we'll talk about, and he's like jumping around. It's like, this kid needs a little bit of a sleep. Like, he needs a little bit of a break. In the end, like, it was all like in 2 days for him, like these two movies. Anyway, it's crazy. But he goes to the future and it's 2015, and I remember, like, obviously I've watched these movies before 2015, and I remember like people were like, wow, it's like 2015, like it's when it was the day, I forget the day, it was October something 2015 that he went to the future. People were like, this is the day. So it's crazy, like living like when they were like that, whatever. Anyway, and now 2015 is past. It's like almost 10 years later. It's just, time is so crazy. I can't believe I'm 24. It's like, what is life? Anyway, but it's crazy to like, this is what they thought 2015 was gonna be, like 30 years prior to 2015, and clearly it's not. I actually in college took this class called History of the Future, which I thought was an interesting title, so I wanted to take it. And it was a history class where it's like we learned about like at certain times in history, like what they thought the future was going to be like. And in the end, like, you think like, okay, this is like a weird, like, how's this history, like this seems very kind of sci-fi, like whatever. No, because it actually teaches you about like things about the present, like what they thought the future would be like is what teaches you about the present, I guess. So it's kind of in a way where you learn about like what, you know, what they like what they think is missing and like all this stuff. So a lot of like, you know, when I was taking the class, a lot of things are like flying cars. Like that's like a common one that everyone thinks about. So it's crazy that they clearly thought flying cars was gonna happen. We don't have flying cars. I would say the closest thing to a flying car is like a helicopter. And so if you were about to say like 30 years from now, okay, like let's pretend it's 2025. So like 2055, will we have flying cars? Like, a lot of people probably would say yes, like, yeah, sure, like we would have flying cars. Like, I don't know, because they thought in 1985 we would have flying cars 30 years in the future and we didn't. So it's just something that's always throughout history, like in the 1800s, they always thought there were going to be flying cars, and like that was not the case. I thought it was interesting, like the way they dressed, and it's something where it's like the fashion feels very 80s. It's just like they made it like weird in a way with like the inside out pants. So it's something where it's like it's hard to interfere like those things, like how people would dress. Those are a little bit harder to interfere. I did see one comment in Letterboxd that was like, that's something they got right. I'm like, no they didn't. No they didn't. I think it's interesting they had them go to the 80s cafe to try to, you know, get a way around that it was like 80s whatever. I feel like there's a lot of things about like the screens and TVs that, you know, obviously wasn't exactly like how we have screens and TVs, but like the idea that like television and all that stuff would be so much more was like actually like kind of accurate, even though it wasn't 100% accurate of what it looks like now. It's like what they thought, you know. There's no use of phones though, which is like, I guess I didn't guess that. I'm trying to forget about other things. It's just interesting to see what they thought 2015 was going to be like, and it's not. So it's crazy that they had then like his son like look exactly like him, and then Biff's grandson looks exactly like him. Like it's not real. Like it, you know, it's dumb, but it was like their way of like working around it, I guess. But yeah, the first movie was really about like he by accident goes to the past and then he has to kind of save it so that he's born. But the first movie didn't get into like the like effects of time travel, where it's like you could like mess up the future or like different timelines and that stuff, which is you see commonly in time travel movies. So I guess that was like the direction they wanted to go in the second movie. So they were like, let's go a little bit into the future, but then this thing happens, which the story is really well written, where then Biff goes to the past and then does something into them. When he goes back to his time in the 80s, it's a different time. And everything, when the doc is explaining like time and alternate reality, it makes me think of the first movie when he went back and he made his dad cool. Like technically that created a different alternate reality where he then went back to the future and like his family was in, like his parents were in love and they had like a nicer house, their house looked nicer, I don't know. But yeah, so just like that technically created another reality. But this was a reality they wanted to not have. So it's crazy then to like go back to the past in the 80s, or no, the 50s. I'm losing it. And try to stop. And so I always like, I think I remember like, I don't know, it was my first time seeing it or my latest time seeing it. I was kind of blown away, especially when he goes back to the 50s and then it's like the same scenes that he was in before, and like that thing of like it's time travel's a little bit crazy in that way. And then he saves the day. But then they like obviously leave it for the next movie, which I'm like, ugh, I don't even want to talk about the next movie. Like their movie's so bad, you know. Comment below if you disagree with me. But yeah, I think like the first movie is great, and then you watch the second movie and you're like even more blown away because of what they were able to do. And you know, there's so many time travel movies out there, but I feel like this is like, I don't know, again, I think I said this in my last video, like I don't think this is the first time travel movie, like come on, unless it is, I don't know, should be my research, I know guys. But it's probably like one of the first, and it's kind of standard and mandate, and it's so easy to watch. It's just so watchable and easy, and just like things like that. And then like, though like it's not perfect, and there's a lot of things I would do differently. Like it just, there's a lot of greatness in this. And again, it's like PG when there was like cursing and like certain things that are not PG, and if it was created nowadays it'd be PG-13. Anyway, there's Back to the Future Broadway show that I've always wanted to see but didn't see. I'm gonna end this here because the video is getting long, but hopefully you guys liked Back to the Future and you've never watched it before. Hopefully it's exciting, and if you do want to watch a third movie, go ahead, but I am not doing a video on it. I am not. And so then the next two movies we are going to do are the two Mean Girl movies. So we're going to do the first Mean Girl movie that came out in 2004, and then actually the next Mean Girls movie that came out this year in 2024. And we're going to compare those two So comment below your thoughts about Back to the Future 1 and 2, not 3. And then watch Mean Girls in 2004 for next week. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and bye.